Hi, I'm here to show you the steps on how to disassemble and assemble a system unit. We must prepare the following tools. We must have anti-static wrist strap, screwdrivers like flatheads, crossheads or Phillips head, the Torx screwdriver set, particularly the size T15, tweezers, flashlight, small container to hold screws, and pen and paper for taking notes. In disassembling a system unit, we must first wear an anti-static wrist strap to prevent electrostatic discharge. Just plug the alligator clip in any metal of system unit case as long as it is a bare metal. Then, turn off the switches in the system unit, unplug all the cables, and unplug the power cord in the wall socket. Take out the CMOS battery from the motherboard. Next, remove the PCI Express connector. Unplug all the connectors connecting the video card and power supply. Unscrew the video card from PCIe expansion slot. Then, remove the CPU cooler fan. Untighten the screw and remove the connectors from the motherboard. Next, remove the motherboard and CPU power connector from power supply. Then, disconnect the SSD from motherboard and power supply. Remove the USB connector from the motherboard. Take off the system unit fans. Tighten the screws and disconnect the connectors from the motherboard. Unscrew and take out the SSD from its position. Step 11. Remove the RAM. Simply press down on the clips on each end of the module. Unclipping the module may require some equal force, resulting the RAM module will slide out of the DIMM slot. Next step, remove the CPU chip. Push down and pull the retention arm to get the CPU chip. Then bring back the retention arm to its own position and hold the chip on its edges only. Then, remove the front panel connectors. Remove the motherboard. Untighten all the screws holding the motherboard and gently take the motherboard out of the system unit. Then push the I/O shield out of the system unit case. The last step is to remove the power supply. Untighten all the screws and remove the power supply out of the system unit case. In assembling a system unit, we must first wear an anti-static wrist strap. Plug in the alligator clip in any metal of system unit as long as it is a bare metal. Next, set the power supply. The power supply converts mains alternating current to low voltage regulated direct current for the internal components of a computer. Then, put the I/O shield and motherboard in the system unit case. Motherboard is the main circuit of a computer and contains all the circuits and components that run the computer. Make sure to put the bands that holds CPU cooler fan and tighten the screws to hold the motherboard. Fourth step, connect front panel connectors. Make sure to connect all the connectors on its appropriate label on the motherboard. Next step, put the CPU chip in the socket. Hold the CPU chip on its edges only. Lift up the retention arm. Align the arrows on the CPU chip and the socket. Gently put the CPU chip on its socket and lift down the retention arm. CPU is the brain of the computer. Performs all the instructions and calculations needed and manages the flow of information through a computer. Then, install the RAM. Each RAM slot will have two small tips at either sides. Gently press this down to open them. Line up the RAM and gently press it down into the slot. When the RAM stick is fully depressed, the locking tabs at each side should click back into place. Place the solid-state drive. Put the SSD to its holder. Tighten the screws. Then place this to its position and make sure to tighten the screws. Insert the system unit fans. Connect the connectors of each system unit fans to the motherboard and tighten their screws. Connect the USB connector to the motherboard. Next step, using the SATA connectors, connect from power supply to solid-state drive and from solid-state drive to motherboard. Connect the power supply to the CPU and motherboard. Install the CPU cooler fan. Place the fan in front of CPU. Connect all the adapter in the motherboard and make sure to tighten the screws. Next is video card. This is a type of expansion card that outputs images to a display screen. Put it in the PCIe slot, align the card, gently push, and when the clips clicks in, it may now tighten the screws. Connect the PCIe connector from video cards to the power supply. Put in CMOS battery. The last step is connect all the cables to the system unit. Plug the power cord to the socket, push the power button, the system unit, and see if it's working well. Then put back the side panel. And those are the steps on how to disassemble and assemble a system unit. I'm Ronnie Linis, the ICT1 from Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Thank you for watching.